will be Kolento versus Xixo, a battle of two streamers in the group. And now we're introduced with an interesting turning point for Kolento, who at the start of the day, we thought maybe he looked into a prime position to be dominant once again. But if he wins the series convincingly, I believe he'll be at a very high chance to go through unless Firebat matches that. In the meantime, Fake is still sitting 1-0, and we'll catch up with him later. And then Xixo is still searching for his first win, as he is a guy who's been around for 3 tournaments and yet has to advance to the bracket stages. Here casting along with me has been PVDDR, who's been doing a stellar job so far in his first Hearthstone cast. How you been enjoying the game so far, man?
Hey, they're pretty good. The level of the players is very, very high. The decks are interesting. I'm really liking it.
All right, and now we go into our 4th series of the day. Let's see what Kolento and Xixo are able to do. Kolento seems intent on not banning Hunter and maybe doing something else. And
but
maybe
Xixo doesn't have handlock, so why would Kolento ban now? That's why he banned the previous 2 games.
He bans Shaman.
Ooh, nice.
Okay.
So just to bring up last game a little bit, people have been saying, that turn 1 intervey play was bad and etc. It wasn't great, but I don't know what else Xixo could have done. Maybe that was just the best he could do with the cards he had. If it didn't turn out okay, it doesn't mean it was a bad play. So I think people maybe have been too harsh on him because it didn't work out. But it's not like he could, mulligan that interview for, some Ancient of Wars or something. Those were the cards he had. So I think it was a reasonable play. It just didn't pan out the way the game played. But people have been too hard on him, I think.
It's definitely easy to say in hindsight for sure, but a lot of players would have made the same exact play Xixo did, given the shoes and the situation, with everything on the line for the series. That was game 5, so like it, love the balls on the kid, and hopefully he can carry it over to this game in this series. Warrior vs. Druid is about to begin. We've seen this matchup several times. Once it went good for Kolento, and once it didn't. And it kind of depends a little bit on the list. And when he's going to see Ramp Druid again, as the game's about to show the opening mulligans, he's going to also kind of struggle. He's like, is it going to be the aggressive Druid? Is it going to be Ramp? And if it is Ramp, what kind of tech is he running? Yeah.
I feel like I still have to give the edge to Ramp Druid here, just like I did game 1, but I wouldn't put past Kolento to just win very easily again. Yeah, this deck, it has even more late game units. It doesn't have scenarios, but it does have Ragnar's and Kel'Thuzad, which the previous guys, not all of them played. So yeah, it should be an interesting game. It will definitely be decided in the late game, or if the Druid deck can conceivably get a big minion early with its acceleration. But early game cards not as important unless they're accelerating into late game cards, like Armor Smith, for example, for Kolento. A good card, obviously, you much rather have it on turn 2 than turn 10, but not as game-breaking as it is against a lot of matchups. To a point where I feel, is Kolento just going to go into aggressive here? Because it's conceivable that you save that coin. You're playing a 1-4 that doesn't do a lot, but if he's just going to play on task mastering it or just being the aggressor here, this play would make sense.
Yeah, he's not sure, again, what kind of deck this is from his opponent, but I think with the slow start, 2 hero power passes, and again, nothing until turn 5, which will confirm once more if whether or not this is an aggressive or slower Druid. That can give Kolento finally an ability to kind of ease up on the pace.
Okay, yeah, so no turn 5 taunt, which would maybe have been able to put a stop at Kolento's aggressive plans. This does not do that. It just gets attacked by Dash Bite and die. Kolento is wondering whether he can just attack face, finish that guy with. I think that's worse. But also just ignore it, and wait. There's definitely a chance Xixo has a 5-drop, but he didn't play it because of the Dash Bite. And the 2-4 is not super threatening, so there's definitely a chance that it's correct to just ignore it and leave the Death Bite there and just attack face with your 2 minions and pass the turn.
Yeah, and also something to factor into Kolento's decisions over the next few turns is the fact that he has Alex Straszla and Gromosh in tandem. So damage rush is not as high as a priority. And he's
Yeah,
got his
definitely.
a Winker. Saving the Death Spite might be a way for him to kind of get that proc.
Yeah, so he does save that. And, you know, Deathbite also pretty good against Sunwalker in this circumstance. Which, you know, could be what's coming next turn.
That's true. Good call. And this
Yeah,
gives
so
the
by
ability
saving,
for Kolento to respond.
yeah, by saving that Deathbite trigger, he can also just place his Manipulator dead. Which is a pretty decent play. You could also play Sylvanas.
Yeah,
I think they're
double
like
keeper was
faceless a
used.
little bit more. Yeah, but playing Sylvanas here just exposes it to, you know, swipe attack, which does do a lot of damage to your opponent, but doesn't actually accomplish much, especially since, as you mentioned, you have Alex Straszla. The question is whether he minds burning, let's say, the Face Manipulator on an inferior minion, but it's not really that inferior. So it will lose the Divine Shield. So yeah, that's the big issue, I think. Because the Deathbite is going to take off the Divine Shield from your minion, and you really don't want that to happen. So it would just basically be copying a 4-5, so I think Sylvanas is the best play here.
I think so too. I think if your opponent also has Black Knight, then you can get punished and lose his Faceless. Versus if you have Sylvanas and your opponent chooses to ignore it, you can also play Faceless on it. Looks like Kolento's opting to go for this play though and open himself up slightly, but also save Sylvanas for more reactive play. He can Sylvanas and execute the next turn whenever a minion comes out and have maybe the strongest minion on the board. If an Ancient of War, for example, comes out here.
Ooh, that's interesting. He doesn't attack, so he opts to preserve his Divine Shield over killing his opponent's minion. Pretty interesting. Maybe he is waiting for that Grandmaster to come out before, you know, killing the Deathbite.
I think so. I think you play consistent to what's in your hand. And this is just a flexibility sometimes that warriors gain through Nax Rammus where they can be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, and maybe he was thinking, you know, oh, if my opponent just plays a 7-drop minion, which is probably what's going to happen since the deck is full of them, he can't even hero power to take my Divine Shield away.
Alright, well, Kolento's opting to finally play Sylvanas and set it up so he can have a strong board. And even though he can't use his Gromosh immediately, at least now he has 10 damage and he's putting on good pressure. And whatever Xixo is most likely going to drop, whether it is Ragnaros, whether it is other big creatures, Sylvanas is threatening to take it.
Yeah, definitely. I find the patience from Kolento this game with that weapon very impressive in this game. You know, he had a lot of chances to use it, you know, use it well. It's not just wasting it, to use it to kill relevant things, and chose not to until he set up a point where, you know, he could use the Death Rattle trigger, not Death Rattle, the 1 damage trigger combo with Execute to get rid of a bigger minion. That was, I think, very, very smart.
And now Xixo has a lot of cards, but does he have the ability to kind of hold off on what his opponents can do here? Oh my, slam off the top for Kolento. So now he has 2 routes where he can decisively take, whether he wants to put on pressure or he can try to go for removal games and slow play it just a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's pretty comfortable with whatever happens here, I think.
Okay.
Like, he still has a taunt guy to protect his Sylvanas. You know, something bad that could happen is swipe Big Game Hunter. That would actually, you know, be the worst possible scenario. It will kill his entire board.
Uh-oh. I think that's exactly what the doctor ordered. Considering that Xixo has been waiting. Oh, well, looks like...
That's almost as good.
Almost as good, I guess.
Yeah, even then, Kolento, still has Alexstrasza, and now he knows his opponent doesn't have Big Game Hunter, because he would have played that instead of the Faceless, I think. Just to hit himself for a lot of damage rather than healing his opponent.
Yeah, he's not afraid of any kind of combo. He knows he's just still going to threaten lethal and force his opponent to have BGH or some way to remove this, whether it's a lucky Ragnaros shot. And I don't believe Xixo runs Ragnaros. Oh, he does. Just kidding. It was Firebat who doesn't run Ragnaros.
Yeah. Well, it's still not lethal because he can still hero power, putting himself at 9. But yeah. Still a pretty good position to be in. So if this guy dies, if Alexstrasza dies, then I think Kolento would be in trouble.
Ooh, double Belchers. Okay, Kolento can push through the first body of one of these Belchers, but also has the ability to kind of cycle through, see what he gets off the slam/seal block. Oh okay, my, so another card that's difficult to deal with for Druid.
Yeah, there's the rest of his game plan now. Now, even if Alexstrasza dies, okay, has 2 alternatives now to win the game.
Well, that mana curve did not work out for him, but at least he still has stuff to do.
Yeah, it's still pretty good. He gets rid of both his opponent's creatures. And, plays a Taunter that trying to protect. Well, he could armor up or play the taunt. Generally, you want to armor up when you have that option, but I feel like since he's being the aggressor here, I would probably play the goal. He doesn't protect his Alexstrasza against Buddha Claw because of the goals. He's just going to get attacked by the 2 minions and the passive, and then the Alexstrasza will take 1 damage anyway. But you still get rid of all your opponent's board even if he does do that, so it's still good for you.
Well, good for you is kind of subjective if you're Xixo, because what can you do here? Doesn't have his
good for Kolento, I meant.
Oh, okay, sorry, I misheard you. Xixo, by the way, still has cards like Kel'Thuzad in his deck, which often is one of your ways to trump control matchups. But it seems like he's holding cards where it might not be as impactful. I want to say he's holding something like Nourish, maybe a Wild Growth. And those situational cards can help you draw. Oh, it is Wild Growth. Those can help you draw, but they do use up some of your mana, which could be extremely valuable at this stage of the game.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, Mark of the Wild. Okay. It will keep both his Stompers alive.
Alright, well, in the big picture of things, now Kolento, I think he's also wondering if he has the luxury of playing Ysera and not worrying about combo, but now that he's drawn Execute, I think he's okay.
Yeah. Ysera. So I think if he hadn't drawn Execute, the Karen doesn't actually do anything to stop the combo. So he would probably still go for Ysera anyway. I think it's better than hero power.
Emerald Drake, not bad. It's just another big minion.
Yeah, for sure. That's what you need in this spot,
I guess.
Yeah, it's not going to win the game immediately like, some of the others would maybe, but you're definitely not sad.
Alright, Xixo used both of his keepers. He's got only Ancient of War to hold off. Now we know Xixo doesn't have combo, but Kolento has already seen one ramp druid that has run it, so he's just going to play kind of respectful to it to a certain degree, as much as he can.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's nothing he can do other than just armor up and play minions. So if his opponent has the combo, he is just bad.
Yeah, with that in mind, the question becomes, do you attack into this Ancient of War? What now? And if so, what's the reasoning behind here? Are you afraid of some kind of Savage Roar of some kind?
Yeah, I mean, attacking it would just make it easier to kill next turn. but it also make it easier for your opponent to feel your Zera. So, but not attacking now, he basically misses 4 damage next turn. But I don't think he cares that much about that, especially since he drew the Nightmare. So,
whoa. Ragnaros makes an appearance, and Xixo can make it so that 50-50 targets are pretty good. He also has to kind of consider, is this an opportunity for him to kind of push, make it difficult for an opponent to deal with Ragnaros and win the game. But I think you wanted to hit either Ysera or this Emerald Drake.
I mean, Kolento's non-attack now is looking pretty good, because he might force his opponent to attack Ysera instead of just attacking himself. No.
Okay.
No. But now you get a free thing if it hits Ysera.
Ysera can stay alive, and now Kolento is going to find out if it hits the Drake, which is the best target in that scenario, because you can remove it off the board and not have to worry about it.
Oh, he drew Shield Slam, which, he could use Nightmare to finish off that 5/10.
Yeah, I think so. Not to mention that it might absorb a Ragnaros shot, too.
Oh yeah, it stays alive, huh? It's not like power overwhelming.
Nope. It dies at the beginning of your turn, so
but
there's opportunities for you to kind of make it resilient.
Yeah, there's also worse though, because you don't get the Death Rattle, like the 4/5 can't attack, right?
Oh, I believe you're correct. So then the 4/5 is just has a bunch of Z's coming out. Laughing Sister is not a great card to draw, but it is a card which the Warrior doesn't really have much of left. Hopefully this Acolyte can get a few. Meanwhile, Xixo, of course, wants to do his best to try and just not die, because no matter which target Ragnaros hits, he's staring at lethal damage. So he needs a way to kind of get a taunter up in the face. Otherwise, this is game for him.
Well, he's not staring at lethal damage if the 4/5 can't attack.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Brain fart.
But he has no good targets here, because, it doesn't kill Ysera. If it kills the 9/5, then he's actually dead. But yeah, it doesn't kill Ysera. One guy is just going to die anyway. One guy, you draw a card when he dies, and Kolento is at more than 8 life. So there's no perfect hit here.
Alright, well, the hit to the face is also optimal.
Oh, that was the worst.
Yeah, that's not good.
Oh, so
and it turns out you actually can attack with Bane. So, we were a little bit mistaken in a judgment there, but those technicalities you don't see very often. Ragnaros and Nightmare interactions. Kolento wins game 1 against the Ramp Druid, and as much as that was a very quick pace early on, it slowed down to some intense decisions that these guys had to come down to make. And now we'll see if Xixo can use his Miracle Rogue to even up the series. All right, so Miracle Rogue kind of in response to the Control Warrior is a little tough, but I think Xixo's willing to take that over maybe his Hunter, because it seems like the Warrior deck is one of the best responses to the Hunter deck. So it could be just a less choice, or the deck that's stronger against Warrior and less suboptimal versus your opponent. Now let's go into game 2 quickly and see if Xixo can kind of rebound here. And if he loses this series overall, that's really bad. I don't feel like Xixo can advance easily unless the rest of his group mates also go 1-2, and then there's like this weird tie scenario. So this is kind of a situation where if he's going to lose, he also has to win some games here to give himself the best chance to advance.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting, you see a lot of people banning Hunter, but off the times Hunter wasn't banned, he was never picked. So, there was always people's last decks. People have had the option to pick Hunter, they never did. I think that shows that people really came well prepared for Hunter in this tournament. No one actually wants to play Hunter against any of those decks.
Oh, I think so. By the way, Kolento's opening hand seems to be kind of reasonable. He's got turns 2 to 5 pretty much settled out. If everything goes according to plan, that is. So it's up to Xixo to see if he can do anything, right? In the previous time we saw Miracle versus Warrior, there was just way too much health, way too much stalling that the Warrior was able to do, and Firebat was unable to accomplish anything whatsoever against Kolento.
Yeah, and again, we can't see the miracle player's hand. Probably something Kolento does to his opponent. Yeah, a reasonably, fast start for a warrior deck, which is playing minions in turn 1 and 2. Ooh, and again, we see, people not worrying that they're giving Acolyte a thing a lot of value because you can't really help it anyway. So might as well just get it over with. It doesn't matter if they draw 2 cards.
Do what you gotta do. And Kolento picking up a good collection of cards that allows him to respond. Sludge Belcher, one of the big MVP cards against Rogue. It's partially, it's the primary reason why Rogues absolutely want to run 2 saps now, because of the double life that provides such a big nuisance to this Rogue deck from being able to combo their opponents. And then Kolento also has some life gain. He's got shield block in case things get too tight. Tries to gain some armor. He can taunt up. And it seems like he's got some good comfort zone this early game here against Xixo.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only thing he doesn't have is pressure, but it doesn't look like he really needs it right now.
Yeah, pressure against Miracle Rogue can be very valuable. You see decks like Zoo and Priest able to, and Handlock even, because you just get so much strong and dense minions early on. That is really difficult for them to deal with. But another way that you can kind of answer Miracle Rogue is also load them, and Kolento doesn't have it. And his opponent looks like it's going off this turn. Ooh, sad.
Yeah.
This is gonna be
that guy's concealed. Yeah, that looks like a dream hand from Xixo.
Alright, well, he can't do anything, so he's just gonna have to play this and pass.
Yeah, but he's got to be thinking that, his window's gone here.
Right, because now the warrior can never actually utilize any of these taunt minions and his weapon to leverage. It's most likely going to be clears, and his opponent can dictate the momentum of the board. Whatever comes out, he most likely can answer with spells, and then when the mana comes for him to burst and he draws the right Leroy combination, he can end the game.
Yeah, and here we see that he healed the 4/4 instead of healing himself, which is basically 1 more health. Because if the 4/4 was a 4/1, he would just get attacked by, Xixo would get himself attacked by the Death Spite. That would have cleared the 4/1 too. So good play by him.
Ooh. All right, well. Armorsmith coming in, the hand, which could be a valuable card. And Kolento's still sitting at a reasonable health. 28 isn't the most secure compared to where you like to be in the Warriors, into the high 30s and mid 40s. And Xixo is gonna start just loading up the board with whatever way he knows how.
Yeah, but we see that even though he cast a lot of things with the gadgets, Kolento still has as many cards as he does. If he can stabilize the board.
Yeah, he is starting to stabilize with some of the pickups that he has. Death Bite, Shield Slam.
Yeah, definitely. That's a board clear. And one interesting thing, though, about this matchup is that he only runs... I guess Kolento runs another counter, but... it doesn't have as many high toughness taunts as the Druid matchup, so you can be more liberal with your saps. Like, if he was playing against Druid, for example... he would probably have to save both his saps for a late game, but now he can still win with just 1. Kolento could still get bursted out, because that's the only taunt he has. Yeah, he's going to clear the board here.
Oh my.
Or not.
Get the Armorsmith down now. Don't let your opponent build up something. It's tricky. It's not as clear as just like, well, let's just take off the power of the board. Always have to be mindful of what your opponent can do.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, chooses to use Shield Slam over using his hero power, which probably means, he thinks he's going to be using his mana a lot over the next few turns and won't have time to cast Shield Slam.
Right. Whether it's... Because, next turn he can't Sludge Belcher, Armorsmith, and Shield Block. Or Ragnaros.
That's right, Shield Block, not Shield Slam, yeah.
Right. Yeah, he can't use all those options over the next 2 turns, it looks like. In which case, he might have to just resort to using it now because he won't have the opportunity later to gain the life. So good observation. Meanwhile, Kolento does see 2 more minions popping out. It's just like the whack-a-mole game, basically, for this warrior. Just slowly try to just...
The whack-a-mole game?
Yeah, you know, in the arcade games at Chuck E. Cheese and Dave & Buster's where the little hedgehogs pop open the boxes with holes in it and you have like a mallet, you try to swat it down as fast as you can.
Oh, sure, I know that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the equivalent is in Brazil, but that's really popular in the U.S. At least if you're under 14, so most of the chat can relate, right?
Yeah, so Xixo managed to stick a meter for 1 turn. Let's see what he does with that. Probably nothing, but, you know. We have to remember, Xixo is also running 2 Sinister Strikes. So he has potentially more burst than other Miracle Rogue decks.
So many options.
I guess he doesn't run Cold Blood, so...
That is something to be said, that Sinister Strike is limited damage, though, compared to having repetitive damage through minions that can kind of attack multiple turns over. So, once again, there is a very finite amount, and Kolento can put Xixo in an awkward position where he might not have enough damage to win the game. That's why killing off something like Hammersmith is a high priority for Xixo, definitely.
Ooh, okay, so no more saps in Xixo's deck. But he does have a lot of power in play already, so... Oh, that was huge. That's going to make sure Kolento doesn't die this turn for sure.
Yeah, that's an excellent draw.
So he does have a lot of options here. You know, he could Fairy War Wax, Taskmaster the 4/4. He could play Low Tap. I don't know how many cards Xixo has. You know, maybe he doesn't even care if he draws more cards.
Yeah, he's so thin on the rest of his deck. I have to assume it's less than 8. He's got 6, I think, from that quick glance. Which means he is running out of cards, and he is going to have to win. I don't believe we've seen things like his Blade Flurry, obviously Leroy Double Shadow Step. We did see his Van Cleef and Azure Drake, though.
Yeah. So again, you know, Kolento can just eventually play another taunt guy, and then it would be really hard for him to win without a sap.
Yep, no more saps. I believe Xixo used both of his eviscerates, although I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Xixo needs to kind of do something too because he's afraid of potential faceless on this Grommash. It's not like you could ignore it and hopefully hold out for damage. And as far as I know, most of his minions have been exhausted, so the remainder of his deck, or his hand rather, is most likely spells in this scenario, with maybe a Thanos.
Yeah, not a huge minion there. Yeah, I mean, assuming he has used both eviscerates. And how much damage can he deal? He deal 18? 4 with 2 Sinister Strikes.
You're gonna Blade Flurry or Phantom Knives to clear us at the very ends. Get the damage in now. But this is where Senjin Shieldmaster is actually like so powerful for the warrior because you've already used both saps and you've used a lot of removal.
Yeah, maybe just want to use the fact he just had 2 minions already in play, so he only gets 1 minion now. Not as bad as Leroy.
Oh wait, does he have preparation to kind of put the last damage? Oh my goodness, I think he has it! Because he's got double, does he have double Sinister Strike? No, he's got Eviscerate number 2. Oh wow. Does he have any ability to use the Sinister Strike here? He does!
Wow.
Wow! Kolento ends up dropping here by 1 damage overkill. And, you know, it was a little miscalculation on our end, but Xixo had the second Eviscerate, and the preparation allowed him to stretch for it. What an explosive end to that game.
Okay. That's pretty cool. For Xixo, I guess. Kolento's probably not happy about it.
Kolento rolled his eyes, obviously, just like, oh my god. Why did I introduce this deck on stream?
Yeah, that was the last possible turn too, because next turn there was just, a 3-5 taunt coming up and a hero power, and, he probably knew that if he didn't lose that game that moment, he would just not lose it anymore. Even to like a board clear.
Well, you know what? That game left me a little speechless. Let's go into game 3 and see if Kolento can rebound with this aggressive token druid deck. Look for cards like Spectral Knight and Lotheb to pull a lot of weight. Maybe even some early game damage if Miracle Rogue doesn't draw the cards. But Xixo seemed to have the magic formula last turn. And if that wasn't the turn he won, it probably wouldn't have been a turn. It probably wouldn't have ever happened because Ascension Shield Master was there. Lots of damage being pushed out. And it just looked like from that point, Kolento was going to run away with it.
Yeah, and Kolento, his next deck is also Miracle Rogue, right?
I believe so.
So he has to feel like he's favored in his matchup, or he would just have gone for the mirror instead.
Yeah, I think this deck is pretty good against what Miracle can do. You have so many minions. You're going to be taking a lot of. You're going to be pushing a lot of damage. Miracle is going to use their health, the resource to trade, and then everything's so sticky that the effects of Fan of Knives and other AOE like Blade Flurry are not as powerful as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever stick Spectral Knight with a Defender of Argos, you probably just win the game, but... Oh, okay, I was expecting him to hit the other 1-2 and Blade Flurry them both away, but it seems like his plan is just, kill a guy every 2 turns. That's not gonna work.
Kolento also playing around cards like Betrayal, putting it in the middle.
Probably setting up Defender of Argos.
Yeah, that's probably what he's actually doing.
It would be fun though. For that Hunter one, 5 damage.
Oh, the explosive shot, right. Or Cone of Cold from Mage, which isn't out of the realm of possibility. We saw it last VGVN, Cone of Cold.
Oh yeah, Hype played it, right?
Yeah. Oh, hey, speaking of Defender.
Yeah. Those Uzus are getting, that knife is grinding those Uzus so slowly. It's a 2-mana minion, it's gonna take 4 turns.
But I like Defender on Spectral Knight so much more, PV, because Spectral Knight is already giving such a series of problems to the Rogue. I mean, of course, it's hard to pass this up,
agree.
But gosh.
I was just saying, how long it's taken Xixo to get rid of, that Ooze that came down turn 2. He's already attacked it 3 times, and there's still an Ooze left.
That's right. How much damage has this 2-mana cost creature done to the Rogue already? Something around 6
8
or
now,
8.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that he got pumped, I think 8. And it's still there. It hasn't even gone away yet. But yeah, you do bring up an interesting point. Like, do you go for the immediate value of Argus now and just establish a great board? Or do you hold it for a Spectral Knight? And like Kolento chose to go for it. Clearly he doesn't think he needs to toss Spectral Knight to win. He thinks he can just play a normal game and win.
I mean, let's be real. Spectral Knight is problematic already on its own, and Miracle Rogue spending cards. Preparation has been used. That's 2 spells. And you can still kill off a minion while being... Ooh, nope, second Eviscerate.
Yeah, it's always a great feeling when the preparation, just so they can cast Eviscerate or SI7. In this case, he actually used the mana because it had double Eviscerate, but you're never sad about seeing that.
Oh, Kolento picks up a board clear.
Yeah. And still at 30 life, denying his opponent off a board seems much better than playing that Spectral Knight, which will just get killed anyway, just get double attacked. So now that it has this swipe, that's not going to happen.
Alright, Xixo running on fumes, only has a few cards in hand. Probably will be looking for his Gadget Stand if he doesn't have it already. In the meantime, Kolento's got the anti-Miracle Rogue card. That's what people said. Lotheb was a miracle killer, but they also forgot about Spectral Knight because this card cannot be dealt with whatsoever unless you have minions on the board already existing to trade.
Yeah, that's pretty annoying. Kinda hate it. So at least he's not gonna get pumped up right now.
Oh my goodness.
So if he ever draws the second Defender of Argos, that's gonna be really hard to get through.
Wow, and with Druid the Claw next turn, that's 12 damage So if his opponent doesn't taunt up or heal, or deal with the minions on board, this is Kolento's ability to just seal the game away. Now, Xixo has shown preparation, so we're in for a series of draws, but what could he draw here to effectively take out the board? I mean, the Gadget's Hand can trade, but that's still only one of these knights down.
Yeah, he could play double Deadly Poison, Taunos, and Blade Flurry. That would, you know, be his best shot, I think. But not happening.
Oh, man. He has to kind of use all of his resources to dig. He's using Shadow Step on his SI7 to push out a little bit more. Backstabbing his own Gadget's Hand. I mean, desperate times calls for desperate measures.
Yeah, I mean, I will believe he can get rid of those Spectral Knights, but what do we have left? You know, he's going to use all his resources to get rid of them, and just going to lose to the Runes of the Claw. So we've seen Kolento being, you know, burst out of the game from what seemed like a pretty good position already. So probably not going to try not to underestimate burst potential.
All right, well, Kolento still short a little bit, but now the Gadget's Hand has been dealt with, and he saw his opponent use his Shadow Step, so he can kind of calculate that into his burst. I mean, I just say go for it. Your opponent has shown no ability to kind of deal with this efficiently. You still have another charger to back it up.
Yeah.
Xixo looks like he's going to be on his last turn here.
Yeah, I mean, he's still vulnerable to Deadly Poison Blade Flurry because the Taunos stayed alive, but he does have another taunt, so Xixo would have to do that and play a Farce here in the same turn. I feel like if he didn't have that Druid of the Claw in hand, he would probably not have gone for the face here. He would probably have killed the Taunos, but since he does, I think it's pretty safe.
Wow, Shadow Stepping Thanos, because you just don't have any other cards. I wonder if he's holding like Lotheb or Azure Drake, and he felt like he needed something else. Huh? Deadly Poison? Maybe a Blade Flurry. Alright, well, he clears the board, and I guess he accomplishes what he needed to do 2-3 turns ago, but now Kolento just has game-ending damage right here, and if it wasn't enough, he shuts down Gadget's Hand. Yeah. Alright, so Kolento jumps up 2-1. Xixo now has to go to his last deck, which I believe it's his Hunter deck, correct?
Yep. Kolento chose to bench Shaman instead of Hunter.
Okay. So quickly analyzing this Hunter, because we don't see it too often in VGVN. It's kind of an anomaly that people don't ban it. Kolento, one of the few players who do. And now we see that it's going to be kind of what you would expect on the ladder, right? Something similar to just having Undertakers, having a lot of snowball, but he takes after what Kolento does, and he's cutting a high main so that he can have a very aggressive start.
Yeah, and he plays one Leopard Gnome, which is very unusual, I guess, because either you are on the Leopard Gnome plan or you aren't. And it seems like he is in the Leopard Gnome plan, but still doesn't think it's good enough to play it as a 2-off. You know, he would rather play 2 Flares, even though he's banning Hunter a lot. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is kind of curious. Although, again, you don't know if Xixo wants to ban Hunter, or he's just banning Hunter because something else didn't come up. For example, in the previous VGVN, he used to prioritize banning Priest, I believe, against his classes, because it was good against his Shaman, and I believe he was running a few other classes that were kind of susceptible to it. So maybe he has another game plan, and he's banning Hunter. He's expecting he'll play Hunter eventually, if his opponent doesn't really have it. So maybe he's just keeping this into account. Either way, game 4 is about to begin. Xixo's in a do or die situation. If you lose here, 1-3, I think there is a very little chance that he is able to advance, because the tiebreakers would not go in his favor. He needs the best score possible in his series in order to advance with a losing record.
Yeah, he would need someone to go 3-0 to begin with, and then, you know, be the best tiebreakers up the 1-2s.
All
Yeah,
right.
reasonable hand for Kolento. You know, has a 2-3 and a 4 drop.
Ah, the card that strikes fear in millions of Hearthstone players' hearts, at least currently. Undertaker, whoa, but Keeper of the Grove and Innervate is probably the best start you can to an aggressive deck.
Yeah. I remember when I was playing Aggro Rogue and my Druid opponents did that, I just wanted to concede the game right then. It was such a huge beating. Like, I was going to kill. Not the same with Hunters. Hunter has, better minions, but the guy's just going to kill the next 2 minions he plays anyway. It's such a huge tempo swing.
Yeah, the card is a 3-for-1 too, not to mention. So most likely against these aggro decks, you're able to use Keeper of the Grove to be very efficient, and you don't feel like you lose that many cards at all by using Innervate. Now, Kolento introduced with an interesting choice here because I read up on an article written by Savitz, who analyzed this deck, PV, and he says against Hunter, you have to recognize when you're going to be aggressive and when you're going to be defensive. And sometimes you get to push for damage because you can outpace the Hunter with something like Savage Roar. And if you have it in hand, keep it in mind. So Kolento thought about it, and he ended up going for the attack. But I encourage new players to also read that article and think about the similar situations.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that he has another Keeper. Next turn, he could potentially silence it and attack it. But the thing is, I don't think he actually fears any trap here. Because Freeze Trap is just going to bounce the 2-2. And is going to come back and, still good at 6 mana. And Explosive Trap would just deal 2 damage to Harvest Golem. So I think he's fine with killing that guy.
Yeah, not a bad compromise whatsoever. Just pay a little bit extra and you get a 3rd Keeper of the Grove. Although you do lose a little bit board presence, but I think you're okay with that. And now Houndmaster has been dropped on an empty board. That feels good as a Druid player. You recognize your opponent is losing momentum.
Yeah, there are many scenarios in Hearthstone in which you realize the game is going to go your way, such as we had before. Someone having 7 mana and playing an empty Black Knight or an empty low tab or something. Turn where it didn't do anything. So their hand's so bad they don't have anything else. And this is one of those situations. He played turn 4 Houndmaster on absolutely nothing, and you have to be feeling pretty good because if that's the best he can do, then I'm in pretty good shape.
Well, this is the best thing Xixo definitely could have done on turn 5, which is Unleash with the Buzzard. And now it allows him to draw 3 cards, hopefully pick up some of the better ways to combo it, while being able to fill up his hand and cycle through. He coins and flares.
Ooh, so to kill that Shade.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. To take out a really important card in the Druid's arsenal.
We're probably... are we going to see the Keeper of the Grove again? Yes, Kolento doesn't know that his opponent doesn't have high mange, so he's probably saving it for that. Probably just wants to hero power it and not play the 2-4 here.
Yeah, I think you want to save that last Keeper just in case. Because next turn, if you use Keeper now and then next turn he drops the high main, you are very sad.
Yeah. Also, the fact that he played the Houndmaster, in turn 4, doesn't necessarily mean that, but could mean he has a second Houndmaster. It's one of the cards that would make it way more likely that he just dropped that in turn 4.
Right.
So you might want to leave it there to.
Yeah, good observation. Good observation. Now we know Xixo doesn't have Houndmaster. He has Animal Companion. Oof, and he rolls a Huffer. That's not very good. Will it be 2 Huffers? Oh no! Well, I guess you do damage. But unfortunately, it doesn't actually work out in this scenario because Kolento can trade, and he's got some heals to kind of rebound here.
Yeah, definitely. And if it comes to that, he can always keep it, but again, I don't think he's going to do that. I would imagine, he could not use the swipe, just play a minion and attack it with the hero power, but then he would take 4 more damage, he would drop to 14. And that might be too low. I think at this point, yeah, you just swipe it and, preserve your life total a little bit.
Yeah,
at the expense of not advancing your board as much.
He's also got Ancient of Lore to heal up and Loatheb to shut down spells. So he's got some good utility out of these cards, other than just big fat 5/5s. And Xixo
Yeah,
going
definitely.
for a trap. Oh, he wants to push out damage, so it's like he's just gonna stay very aggressive. I mean, this is what the deck was supposed to do anyways, push out lots of damage.
Oh, never mind.
Well, set up the explosive trap. That's interesting. I can understand if you wanted to play around Defender of Argus, but wow. And Kolento is also going to draw cards immediately.
Yeah. And pass the turn, doesn't want to attack into that trap and give his opponent another bow charge. Xixo's play kind of telegraphs explosive trap, otherwise that attack is just very bad. But it would be interesting if he did that with something that wasn't explosive trap, and then Kolento just played around it the whole game.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. What if this is not explosive trap and it's freezing for Xixo, and we don't know that? And
what
perhaps
if it's trap?
Right, it could be something that's completely off, and he just wants to stall for as long as he can. Meanwhile, Xixo's hand looks like it's pretty weak, and once again, without high mains, without a lot of the beasts that scale into light compared to what we saw in the previous editions of Mid-Range Hunter, it kind of has some weak boards that it can fill up the state of the board with. Kill command on the Ancient of Lore is good, I guess, if you're Kolento, because it effectively gained 5 health anyways. But still, like in the state of things, Kolento needs to stop taking damage soon.
Yeah, though he does get to play, a minion and Defender of Argus this turn. So we can just move the blending out a bit. So now he checks, he knows it's not Snake Trap and not Freezing Trap. So it's gotta be explosive.
Explosive is the only solution, considering Snipe did not activate when you played Ancient of Lore.
Chooses not to trigger it again.
Oh man, this turn's gonna be insane, by the way. You're gonna put out 3 taunters.
Yeah.
Whoa. Defender of Argus looked a little bit tilted by that decision.
That was really doing work for Kolento. I mean, we've seen it, it was very good. It did a lot of damage against Rogue, and that's not the first time it copies a taunt. So I see a lot of people questioning whether it's actually good in the deck. I think it's very good. It goes very well with the whole Savage Roar plan, and if you manage to Argus it up, that's great. But you don't have to. It's too good as 2/1s.
Speaking of Savage Roar, that is a potential finisher for the next turn.
Yeah, for sure. Ooh. Lyra coming out usually means someone's dying.
That's an excellent way to phrase it. Alright, and Xixo has another trap, and hopefully this discourages any kind of force of nature from being able to end the game. Oh my goodness. Double Savage Roar. Wrath your minion for 1, I guess?
Yeah, you have to. At this point, you have to be thinking he's just gonna kill you.
Okay, Shades.
Yeah, probably has to pass here. Play Shade and pass. Because if he attacks into the Explosive Trap, he will lose his Taunter, and then Bo will be able to hit him. If he plays a Shade, it grows to a 3/3, then the 2 Savage Roars. Is it actually lethal? No, it's still not lethal.
I believe it will be if you hero power, because you'll have 5 plus the 12. Plus the 4, which is 9, plus the 12. Actually, that's more than enough. In fact, he's gonna go for the Keep of the Grove. DM next Rammus might be a little bit too slow, considering his opponent might still have Flare. So this is slightly more sticky.
Yeah. Well, but if he has Flare, he still has to attack it. No, for that to matter. Ooh, okay, so no double Savage Roar.
Lotheb Denial. Alright, so how much damage does Kolento have now? Wait. 2, 4, he's got 8, he's got 13 damage.
Well, assuming that 1/1 doesn't die to Explosive Trap, which we know it will.
Right. He's got 13 damage by my count, I think. Or does he have more? I can't count right now. Wait, is it 14?
No, he doesn't.
Okay, sorry. I'm counting the 1/1 body as an extra thing.
Well, yeah, it would be 14 if if that trap is nothing, if that trap doesn't exist, he had 14.
Okay, well, Kolento's just gonna swipe and move on.
What does this no attack from Kolento mean? What is he hoping to draw? Because every turn that passes, he's just going to take one more damage than he gains with his 0 power. And that trap is not going to waste. He's going to draw a flare. So what's he looking for?
Oh my, Hunter's Mark to try to deny any ability. But still, Savage Roar with Force of Nature could still end it. This is coming down to the wire because Kolento's at such low health. He's at 7 HP.
Yeah. I'm very curious about what Kolento's train of thought is, what he's waiting for. Because this is going to happen anyway. So he could have just dealt 2 damage last turn, for example. He just needs 2 damage.
That's a good point. Eventually, you have to end the game by attacking the face. You can't just use spells.
Yeah, now his safe from kill command too. His opponent needs a beast and a kill command.
Uh-oh.
Well,
it might be that case if he has the beast. No, it's a final trap.
Okay,
and it
so
looks
Kolento
to be explosive
wins.
Trap.
Kolento is so relieved. You just see he's like, oh.
Yeah.
It's a very tense game.
And now the Savage Roars, the Force of Nature is the insurance, and Kolento will win this series 3-1 and still be in the running to advance in this group. And Xixo looks like he might be dropping out of the tournament yet again in the group stages. It's still not determined 100%, but I believe it's going to be really difficult to kind of climb back from his spot.
So a good point about not attacking and not running into that trap is that maybe he has another one of those traps in his hand. So by not attacking, you prevent him from playing it. I mean, that could be a possibility, definitely. Though, it still ended up having to attack into both of them.
All right, so Kolento finishes his group 8-4, which makes it highly... Actually, now that he's won 8-4, I believe he's guaranteed to advance either in second or first place. Depends on how Fake wraps up his tournament, because now his record will be very positive. So Kolento secures top 4. As far as I know, and I'll be corrected if I'll let you guys know if I'm corrected. And then we'll have the rest of the group finished out with Xixo, Fake, and Firebat playing out their last couple of matches. PV, what's our next series coming up?
Let me check. So it should be Fake versus Firebat.
All right. Well, Fake versus Firebat is coming up next. We're going to take a few minutes to kind of reset ourselves for our next series. In the meantime, check out the link that you see at the bottom of the screen to enter for your chance to win the Zeus Mini. Type in giveaway or go to the bottom of the Twitch channel and find out more information about this PC that's going to be given away at the end of the series of tournaments. Do that while we take 5 minutes, I believe. And when we come back, we'll have more action here at VGVN number 3.